to interrogate such promises as well. And I like the area of being patriotic, because I think that is where we are getting it wrong. And I think we are not getting good results because we are not working in synergy. Because Madam Enoye mentioned the issue of values, which is around patriotism. So I think this platform, thank you, Mambaya and AL-HABIBIYYAH, are part of resolutions we want to see that we are pushing out now, is to see how organizations can work closely together for an outcome that we pay all Nigerians, irrespective of your status. It is when we work towards that that I think we'll get it right. You also emphasize the issue around citizen participation, which is very key. And when you are participating, what type of participation you are doing. So I'm going to take the mic to the representative of IG to speak to their roles, why Nigerians should have trust in the security during the general election and other elections that we may have in Nigeria. Because during the election, we all mention INEC, INEC, INEC. INEC, yes, they are the electoral management body, but they are not the only one during the election. When it comes to movement of election materials, INEC engage third party to do that. What is the role of police? Making sure that integrity of what they are moving, and I will still refer to CP Shogule. He emphasized that time in Ekiti that during the movement of sensitive materials to the racks, the security agencies were there. That means you have built the confidence of citizens that you don't need to panic. You have been part of process, the numbering, try to check what they are moving to that. And if you look at the Electoral Act that we have now, I think around section 138, subsection 2 or 3, talks about the ballot paper. The same thing, section 63, subsection 2, also discuss that as well too. So the CP, sir, we would like to hear from you the role, what Nigerians should expect from your office. IG always assured people that they should not worry, they should relax. Recently, he visited Osun State, where we are having off-cycle election next month, and he has assured the citizen that police will be on ground and police will be neutral of whatever they are doing. And where he needs to emphasize to Mr. Governor, he also emphasized. Now, when I entered Osun State, I had this. So, what do you want to tell us?
Thank you very much, the moderator. And let me start by saying that my contributions on this panel will not just be as a commissioner of police, but also as a scholar. So whatever I say on this panel are based on my own findings, based on findings of research that I've joined, and they should be attributed to me, because some of the things I will say will be taken or will be seen differently by those of us that are here today. So let me start by saying that I belong to the school of thought that believes perfection is possible, and that several studies have also shown that a lot of people don't understand the problem, and that's why it's kind of difficult to provide solutions. You can only provide solutions to a problem that you really, really understand. And that's why we see sometimes certain things are happening and we continue to ask questions. Now, why has it not been solved? Why has it not been solved? It's because of lack of identifying that problem. And one thing we have been able to do at the Nigerian Police Force Election Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Unit is that we have been able to develop a predictive analytics model. This makes us to understand, why is this thing happening? What are the likely things that will happen? How do we tackle it? What are the elements? What are the variables? How did they interact? What do we need to do to prevent these elements from interacting? What do we need to put in place to prevent or to allow certain things to happen? And so far, so good. Our predictive analytics has not failed us, because we tried it in Anambra in November of last year. Just as I said, the first time that Anambra election will be concluded in one day, the first time that Anambra election was conducted without shooting, without injury. Prof mentioned issue of
Let's clap well.
Prof during his keynote, he asked the question whether bandits or criminals, whether they are stakeholders, because on the day of election we don't hear from them. Yes, they are stakeholders, but again, we have positive stakeholders, we have negative stakeholders. Bandits, criminals, they are negative stakeholders. And based on our predictive analytics, we have measures to deal with both positive stakeholders and negative stakeholders. It's not as if the IPOB guys did not say election will not happen in Anambra. But we brought up operations that will prevent them as negative stakeholders from doing what they plan to do. The same thing in, I'm giving this preview before I now come up with what are the things we have done practically, because I believe in giving practical examples, not just textbooks or literature, what we already have in literature. You know, then in February of this year, we had election in FCT too. Then let me state, before leaving Anambra, as part of the things we have done, you know, understanding the problem and giving the appropriate solution. We used a theory to prepare our operations for Anambra. We are all aware of the PAT model, the problem analysis triangle. You know, all the things we are doing, we did not invent them. These things are there already. You know, it's just like when you have a manager, we tell you he doesn't know what to do. There are management theories. There are different theories you can use. Everything that is happening, nothing is new. It has happened before. And there are evidence-based suggestions and recommendations that can be used to tackle all these things. For Anambra, we use the problem analysis triangle. That's the PAT model, which simply states that for things to happen, three things, it depends on three variables. That is the victims, the perpetrators, and lack of guardianship. And we discovered that what do we need to do most in Anambra is to remove the perpetrators from the equation. And we embarked on pre-election clearance operation. We dislodged the IPOB and all these criminals from where they would have capability to disrupt election. We removed the perpetrators. Then we introduced more of guardianship, which is another factor, by having massive deployment of police in Anambra State. And that gave us the result we saw. For FCT, we employed the deterrence theory, because a lot of things was said about the FCT election, and from our analysis that this person will cause trouble because some people believe FCT belongs to them for whatever reason. Some people believe that some other people cannot come and do anything in FCT except them. Some people believed because they are close to power, they could do anything and that nothing will happen. So we looked at it that what would be the best thing to do here? Let's deploy deterrence theory. Those were the things that backed our operation. Where are the places that incidents happen? The previous area council election in Buhari, 2 people were killed. The one before this last one. What do we need to put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again? Where are the places we need to focus more on? Is it Maitama or Asokoro or the satellite towns or this particular area? What are the things we need to do? We put everything in place, and thankfully to God, it's all worked out. For Ekiti, we employed multi-layered security approach based on the circumstances in Ekiti. Ekiti is bordering to Kogi. Ekiti is bordering to Kwara. We all know the security situation in Kwara and Kogi. They have bordering towns, terrorist activities, insurgents, and so on. Then Ekiti again, they are well-educated people. One of the most educated states in Nigeria, where, in fact, I didn't even introduce myself as a doctor, a PhD holder in Ekiti, because even their goats have PhD in Ekiti. So I didn't brag about it because it was nothing. So we also took advantage of that. The way you will relate with a society where you have educated people is different from the way you will relate in a society where you have over 80% of where literacy level is not even up to 20%. So we employed different theories. The one for Osun I'm not revealing now, so that people will not go and counter what we are planning to do. At the most appropriate time, we'll do that. We are here to formulate what we are going to use for the general election, because it's going to depend on the findings and what is happening. Because the political environment in Nigeria changed dramatically. It might be one thing today, and tomorrow morning it's a complete different ball game. So in summary, at the Election Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Unit, we have a full understanding of what is happening. We have a full understanding of what we need to do, and we are putting it in place. We have tested it. It has worked for us, and we believe it will continue to work for us. For instance, in Ekiti, we did a lot of confidence building before the election. A day before the election, there was already planned to have a show of force. But when we got there a week before, based on what we have observed, we recommended that, look, this show of force will be counterproductive. You cannot carry armed soldiers and police with machine guns and armored vehicles patrolling the street on the day of election, and you expect anybody to come out to come and vote tomorrow. It's not going to work. In fact, people will start calling themselves and say, no, don't go out, because their belief will be that this thing, you want to use it against them. And that was the reason why we didn't have that show of force in Ekiti. In Anambra, for instance, we encourage the police officers, when you get to the polling units, communicate in the local language. That research has also shown that when police communicate in local language, it builds more confidence. And that made people to start making phone call, to call their relatives, to call their friends that come and vote. Nothing will happen. Those were part of the things that we have seen that is making us to have increased voter turnout. And that brings us to the answer to the question that which Prof raised, that he observed that police are being more civil. You see, these are based on training, pre-election training. 2 weeks, 1 week before the election, we gather our police officers, we train them, we give them information on what is expected of them, on how they should conduct themselves, on what they should do and what they shouldn't do. Do we wonder why in most cases, almost on a weekly basis, banks, hospitals, they have in-house training for their staff? Why do you think they do that? It's because they want to increase the level of their professionalism. This is something they have been doing every day, but still they don't take training, they don't joke with training. And those are part of the things responsible for the high turnout of their staff. And those are part of the things we are also putting for the police officers who are engaged in elections. And we have been doing this in collaboration with stakeholders. INEC is involved, civil society organizations, they are involved, and so on. So, capping it all, that we fully have an understanding of what the problems are, and we are being proactive in ensuring that we have intentional outcomes for every election going forward in Nigeria. And what is the intentional outcome? We want it to be peaceful. Everything that is needed for election to be peaceful, we are going to put it in place. Then let me also again call on our religious leaders. Please use during your sermons, impress it on the followers, on the congregation, that police security agencies have given assurance that election will be peaceful. Make reference to previous elections that were peaceful, that all you need to do is to come out and vote. For me as a policeman, I'm not interested in who you vote for. What I'm interested in is come out to vote. If you like, come out on that day and even vote for a party that is not presenting a candidate, but come out and vote. Then that's now when we encourage people to come out to vote, then the politicians and the candidates will now ensure that people coming out to vote should vote for them. That is their own responsibility. It is not mine. Then I would also like to make a comment on issue of media. Just as Prof said, we must have an ideology that we believe in, and we should follow that ideology. So either as individuals or as organizations, there is nothing wrong in a media station supporting a particular candidate or a particular party. Look at the CNN of this world, look at the Fox News, look at the Guardians, look at the New York Times, the Times of this world, the Sun of this world. They have political parties and candidates they support, and they only carry the news of those people. When you see a news on Fox News, yes, I'm speaking on authority. Yeah. When you see a news on Fox News, go and check the same news on CNN, and you'll be surprised. Is it the same thing? They will report it differently based on who they are supporting. Sometimes, why are they supporting these people? Because these are the people funding them. These are the people, and again, they look at their subscription base. Who are the people buying who are the people that have subscribed to their medium, to their station? They are people from this political party. They give them more of the things they want. And media, it's as if the Nigerian media still don't understand that power of influence. Media will go a long way in influencing who people vote for, especially the undecided. In fact, media has the power to even change people that already decided to vote for this party to vote for another party. In conclusion, at the Nigerian Police Force, we will be guided by the laws of the land that deals with conduct of election, which is the Constitution of Nigeria 1999 as amended, the Electoral Act 2026 as amended, as well as INEC guidelines and regulations, and even political party constitutions and political parties constitutions and rules. as regards to how they will conduct their election. The police has a duty to enforce all those things. Based on our predictive analytics, before every election, everything that will cause anything negative, we identify them, we take care of them. Where we need to remove, we remove them, so that at the end of the day we can have that peaceful election. And let me state that, God willing, peaceful election has come to stay in Nigeria moving forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, the Commissioner of Police, Shogunle, for this assurance. I remember in Ekiti, when Sheun was asking you the number of deployment, deliberately you didn't answer that question. It is now understand why you refuse to answer that question. I know you assured him that you should not worry about those borders, that security agents are working towards securing the borders of Ekiti with other states. And our sincere appreciation to you and your team, as well as the leadership of Nigerian Police Force under IGP Tuji Disu, for the good job you are doing for Nigerians. So, in summary, you have let us know that identification of problem is key. And it is when you identify, you can now deploy strategies to solve those problems that you have identified. And you have convinced us that we are seeing new police, because you have gone beyond that police of pre-independence. You have talked about theories, strategies, and you gave us some instances that has worked. So what we need to do now is to build on that. And when we build on that, we can all have collective outcome, which is peaceful election in Nigeria. So we go to the last but not the least,